5 years, and we were putting on paper a 10,000 seater. I still remember telling the Derito, should that be a little longer than 5 years? So that's the faith we have. Then I was told I've been trying to follow from far, and I was told within 3 years, what I was asking for longer actually happened, did not require 5 years. You see what God can do? Yeah, I'm involved. At least I used to, before they called me an old man and I retired, I was involved. I used to work for a multinational oil company. And since then, I have helped a lot of organizations write strategic plans. I spend a lot of my time helping people in planning and trying to be better organized. And so I was using that experience of other organizations in trying to think that KSF is being overambitious. Now, I'm much easier to handle the group because now I know faith is based on God. And God has no limitation, isn't it? So that's why I'm very excited to be here. Now, remember, our problem was the main cathedral. Now, I'm here in an overflow. In other words, what we planned in 5 years is already too small. So you can imagine how excited I am about what God can do. I can tell you, even the ones that had a lot of faith did not ask for an overflow. It was not in our plan. Because already that one was too big. Now, can you imagine? It's not just, I'm not the only one. There are many people here who know that God did more than we asked. Which is the message of Ephesians chapter 3, verse 21. It says, I'll do not just what you ask, beyond what you ask. And as if you haven't asked enough, even beyond what you can imagine. Hey, and the first time I read that verse, I said, God, do you know my imaginations? How would you give me more than I can imagine? And I'm here to report, having been a part of the dream at the beginning, that the Lord has done more than that. I asked Alfred to help us project what I'm reading so that it's not a secret. You can see what I'm reading. But I'm trying to achieve 3 things today. Number 1, I'm meeting new people that were not in the strategic planning group that time. And I want us to make friends so that we can work together. How many of you were not part of the strategic planning? You may have been in the church, but you're not part of the strategic planning group, the steering group last time. Hands up if you are not part of it. Actually, they are the majority. Where are the others? So they thought because they know they didn't come. It just sounds like you are the majority. So I have to be careful rather than rush through on the assumption that you have had. So we are starting by talking about the strategic planning process. That's what I want to talk about. Then after that, I'll come to data collection. In other words, the first step we are going to take is to review the performance of the strategic plan. And because all of you have been touched by it, we are actually asking everybody who has turned up today to assist us in thanking God. Your review will help us to thank God for what has happened. Because maybe you are very excited about infrastructure, but the plan had many, many aspects. Which other aspect which you have not mentioned should we be mentioning? So I'm hoping that everybody who has come today will assist us in evaluating how we have performed. Before we now start talking about what do we hear God saying should be something He intends to give us within the next 5, within the next 10 years. All of us will participate. However, after we have collected the data, we shall select or pick some of you so that we have a smaller group to discuss what we call the steering committee. You are the big strategic planning group, but then you need a smaller steering committee that represents everybody so that we can analyze the information you have given us and see what the dreams are that you have. So, Alfred, are you there? Strategic planning process is a PowerPoint presentation. Oh, you're already there. Thank you. And my hope, I'll run through it. My suggestion is all of us should be in a WhatsApp group. Now, WhatsApp has been increased the numbers, isn't it? So all of us can fit in the group. So we all should be in the group. Then once you give me the group, I'll press this presentation, I'll post it in the group so that everybody has. Instead of giving it to somebody who will give to somebody else, it's a lot easier for me to just do it directly, isn't it? Yeah, we could not do that time. There was nothing like that. Now we have that ability. We used to give Monica to try to send it around. Now I can do it directly. So I'll read it. If you see something I'm skipping, you will still have the notes with you. And my hope and prayer is that as we look at it, God will give you an idea of what we are doing and start giving you some suggestions you can have. Apostle has already read my first verse. Yeah, it's the Spirit working, isn't it? Because he did not know that I'm going to read the verse. I'm giving the biblical basis for planning. Why should a spiritual person not do things without planning? Why not just do it? Now, I was in that generation of the revival, 1970s, and one of the ways we knew you are at work is we'll go to some people call us gorillas, but so we'll go to a marketplace. And by the time we got to the marketplace, we have no idea who is going to be the singing, who is going to preach, when we are there, it's you are preaching, Anga. Now, and have no sermon. Now, we believe that's the way to work. That planning is unspiritual. So we just went, and that's the way things are. And those things were quite common in the 1970s. And I'm not saying they are wrong. I'm only saying we had not read this chapter. We are young people and we have not read the chapter. So that's the way we did things. We felt that even preparing notes for your sermon was unspiritual. Because you speak as the Spirit leads. And in our understanding of that, the Spirit cannot lead earlier. He has to wait until you are standing. Now, so you sounded very unspiritual. You know, we came from denominations. Watu wa makanisa. So because we are spiritual, you just stand up and talk. Obviously, you end up talking on one verse and sometimes not correctly. But here, my emphasis today is that although it was okay in the days of ignorance, we are no longer ignorant. It is important when we invite you to come and speak, seek the Holy Spirit to lead you. We don't want to tell us what you want to say. We want to hear what the Spirit is saying. But the Spirit has the capacity to tell you before you come. And then you have the ability to write what the Spirit has said. And the fact that you have your notes does not mean they are coming from your head. They are still coming from the Holy. It took many years for us to understand that. And I'm hoping that nobody is in that category. Just read Habakkuk chapter 2 and I think it's chapter 4. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. In that verse, the first thing is, Habakkuk is being told, when I tell you something, don't trust your memory. Ever heard of the saying, the faintest pencil has a better memory than the best brain? Let me repeat. The faintest pencil, you are struggling to write because it's so faint. The faintest pencil has a better memory than the best brain. So even if it's at night, God wakes you up and gives you a vision. Wake up, don't wake up your wife, but wake up slowly, go to a corner and write it down. Otherwise, tomorrow you might tell us what God said, and part of it is from your brain. So what he has told you, write it down. And it's important that we do that. Of course, that encourages us, those of us who preach, to also write books. Are we together? Why do you do that? He says, so that not you, but somebody else has the capacity to run with it. Because although even if you have a good memory, if you are going to do this as a team, we all need one document. So that we are running, we are not giving different messages. We have one message. So without writing down what God has said, without writing a plan, you will end up confusing people. You can see, for example, if you don't write it down, every day you are moving this way, you go 2 kilometers this way, then you come back, you do kilometers this way, you never make movement. You have a lot of heat, but no light. So it's important to understand why it is important to put it in writing. It's because it's the one that helps the team to go to one direction. So write it down and make it plain on tablets. In other words, it's possible to get a vision, but when you speak it, it's not plain. Plain means simplified, enough for anybody to be able to run with it. And do not start thinking that it's better not to write, because a lot of people don't plan because they fear someone will tell you, but you never did what you said. No, wait for it. He is saying it will certainly come. That's basically what we are saying in this portion of Scripture. And the good thing is, we now are encouraged. We can see what we were saying 5 years ago has actually happened. But all I want to tell you is that there is a biblical reason why it is not right to run things the way we were doing them in the revival of the 70s. And we are not very young. I did my before 1971. So when I talk about 70s, we were already people in our 20s. And that's the way we felt. We felt, of course, 1973, somebody called T.L. Osborne had come to Kenya, and God had blessed him with so much money. He told all young people to appear in Kisumu for training in evangelism, and ask your parents for money to go to Kisumu. He will give you double the money so that you can return the one your mother gave you. So we were about 5,000 of us young people in Kisumu, 1973. And many of the people you see in the Full Gospel Church, in the Deliverance Church, if you read their story, it can be traced to 1973 at Kisumu Sports Ground. The whole morning, T.L. Osborne and his wife would talk to us, training us in evangelism, and in the afternoon, we'd go to the sports ground in Kisumu. And every day for about almost 2 weeks, there will be a miracle that happens in Kisumu Sports Ground. Now, so it thought from there, he gave those who are older than us, who are given small equipment for public speaking. That's how, especially in this area, because we are not used to it, that the church moved from inside buildings and started having open air. If you were, I got saved in the 1960s, you never heard of an open air meeting. But after that Kisumu thing, we started moving into the open air. Because the message we were given by T.L. Osborne is, go out where the sinners. Later I discovered it's a book he had written, but I didn't know it's a book. I was hearing it for the first time. These sinners are not, if you, for example, we have built a big cathedral. But as we write the strategic plan, most of the activities will not be in the cathedral. Cathedral is a training ground. Work will be outside the cathedral. Are we together? But that's what really we are talking about. I want also to read another portion of Scripture, still trying to convince you that it's important to be a Christian who plans. Luke chapter 14, verse 28. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish it. In other words, Jesus seems to be saying, people will laugh at you and it's okay, you deserve it. Can you see Jesus is not criticizing the people who are laughing at you? He's criticizing you for not planning. And this is in the red letter edition, these are Jesus' words themselves. And yet I have to tell you, this idea of moving without a plan, we have two reasons why we don't do it. Number one is our culture. Our African culture does not encourage planning. In fact, in our culture, if I can see that pastor is going to fall, and I can see it, the way he's seated, he might fall, I'm not allowed to say he will fall. Because if he actually falls, what will the relatives say? I bewitched him. So in order to avoid being told a witch, I wait until the guy falls. Then I say, I knew it. Now if I knew it, how come I never said it? Because we don't like to, like a human, in other words, we can see clearly something will go wrong. But our culture tells us not to say. I used to think it's a Kenyan problem, but when I was working for the multinational, for about 6-7 years, I worked in the regional office, and I was looking after 10 countries of Africa, from Mauritius, Madagascar, this region, to Djibouti, Sudan, this region. And every one of the 10 countries I was covering, they had the same philosophy of life. That if you say something is going to go bad, it will make it go bad. So the best thing is, don't imagine it. Now, so we are at the level where you want to start a building. If you start thinking you might be unable to finish it, that will stop you finishing it. It's not in the scriptures. Can you see the scriptures are opposing it? The idea of, if God has given you a vision, you can write it down, you can think about the things that you require, and check, has God given you the faith for those resources? And then, if he has not, you go back to him in prayer, isn't it? But if you don't write it down, don't prepare, even your prayer life will be a problem, because you have nothing to pray about. It is in thinking about the plan that causes you to go both into your knees, because you can see, unless God helps me, this thing will not work. I will not be able to finish it. So you can see clearly that African tendency, or not thinking about the future, not being proactive, is something that is not scripturally correct. Let me tell you the other problem we have. We are Africans, so that's our problem. The next thing is, we are Pentecostals. And we believe that if you start thinking something can go wrong, you are lacking faith. So if you tell somebody, the way you are seated, you might fall. Lack of faith, I will not fall. Now, surely I can see clearly that you are going to fall. But if I say you are going to fall, you accuse me of lacking faith. And you know, that thing can eat into churches because they dare not plan. Because by planning, you can't plan without totally thinking about what are the challenges, what are the barriers, what can you go over it. And at that point saying, you are being negative. You are being negative. In fact, I put 3 views of the future that all of us are likely to have. And the 3 views are represented in this meeting today. The first group I call the unchanging view of the future. In other words, they assume things will always continue, world without end, like the Anglican prayer book. World without end. They always be the same. So they do not, they assume, even if I fail, I'll fail again. There's no need of putting in effort. It sounds so negative. People can think that I'm not talking about you. Have you noticed that a man is a drunkard, then the children also become drunkard. But when they were growing up, they hated their father for being drunkard. Surely, shouldn't they have learned something from their father? And many people actually continue the same. Last time, you took your wife out, and she told you she never enjoyed it. Then you have taken her to the same place. Now, surely, isn't that unchanging? If I didn't enjoy it last time, how do you expect him to enjoy it now? But there are people who are like that. They do not ever change. And they continue in the same way. My wife was still talking to a parents' meeting, and they asked the parents, when you are growing up, did your parents beat you? Oh, it's a parents' meeting. They said, our children don't know how we were beaten. My mother was terrible. She would take something from the fire and hit me. There we were really beaten. So our parents were talking at the same time. Just remember how bad they were beaten. Second question. Do you think you benefited from all the bannings? You know, there's discipline and beating. I'm not talking about discipline. I'm talking about beating. Did you benefit? All of them said, oh no. Oh no. That question, do you also beat your children? They went, yes. Now, can you see what I'm talking about? If it never worked on you, how do you think it will work on your children? We have many people, because of lack of planning, because planning forces you to think. You keep repeating the same way. There's a way you have been running church, and it hasn't worked, but we are stuck. You still want to run the church the same way. That is a group that should be dwindling. We need to get less and less of that category, because people who are like that, who never change, never achieve much. Because they can, they say, what the sign of madness? Madness is to do something the same way and expect different results. In fact, I was told in one psychiatric hospital, before they can release a patient and say he's not mad, he can go back to society, they would put a drum on one corner full of water, and then they put another empty drum, then give a container full of holes, and they tell the madman, please empty that drum and fill this other one. So you go the first round, and they are calculated. You take the water, then they walk. The distance is such that by the time you reach the other drum, there's hardly any water in the container. So just put a little, you go back. If the guy goes the third one, they tell him it's okay, we have land. Go back to the hospital. Because obviously, even if he keeps going 20 times, will he ever fill the drum? But his mental capacity cannot tell him he needs to change. Now, a church that is in this category will never go places. It will not achieve the things God has set out for it. Because it's not willing to change anything. Because after all, it worked. And even if it did not work, anyway, we are still here anyway. The second category of group of people is called the reactive. Normally, we talk of the reactive people in a very negative way. But reactive people, now you can see, are very good people. A reactive person is a person who learns from his mistakes, who learns from experience. It means whatever he goes through and succeeds, he sits down and says, how come I succeeded? What did God use to bless me so that I succeeded? And when he realizes how he succeeded, he repeats what he did to succeed in order to succeed even more. But some people succeed and they don't even know how they succeeded. They don't even want to know how they succeeded. So the next time, they can't remember what they did. So they succeeded first, but because they are not in the first category, they are not learning from experience, they cannot improve on it. But the active people are different. They will analyze their past and learn from it. And if it's a failure does not just discourage them. They know there's something God is teaching me through this failure. What is it that happened that could have led me to the failure? What did I do or not do? And they learn some out of it. So reactive people are people who are on a continuous upward trajectory of life, becoming better and better. Reactive people. The only trouble is, they say, experience is a wonderful teacher. The only trouble with it is a very costly teacher. Are you getting it? People say, experience is a wonderful teacher. Now, it's a very expensive teacher. That's why we do not encourage people to be reactive. We encourage them to be proactive. A proactive person is a totally different person. He doesn't wait to fail in order to learn. He looks at something and forces his mind in prayer to seek what can go wrong. And by looking at what can go wrong, he can see this and this and this can go wrong. If it went wrong, this is what it will cost me. Can I stand it? However, must it go wrong? God, is there something I can do that will stop it from going wrong? Because he has thought about it before it happens. Even what could go wrong is stopped from going wrong. So you wonder, how come these people are progressing continuously? It's because you are struggling repeating the same mistakes with a very expensive teacher. Them, they don't wait to make a mistake. They imagine the mistake before the mistake happens. And then ask themselves, what can I do in order to stop it from going wrong? Those people are called proactive. People that are proactive. And proactive people are continuously improving. They are the ones that Habakkuk is talking about. They see a vision, they write it down, they don't just move on their own. I want to say, when you talk about strategic planning, there are at least 5 stages, but you are going to start with a pre-strategic plan, which is strategic view, which is phase 0. If Alfred, you keep going, you'll get the list of strategic steps that we are going to take. So phase 0, which you can't read, It's called reviewing the previous strategic plan and therefore learning from it. And that is important. Once you do that, it will be important what we call strategic context setting. And here is to look at, we are planning within which atmosphere. We are planning in Kenya, not in America. So you must understand our context. Because learning our context, even if you have the same vision as an American, the contexts are different. So we still must look at our context. And once we set up the context, and that's when we agree what is it we can see into the future. What can we see that will happen in setting the context? That allows you to go to phase 2, where we do assessments and investigations. That's when we start analyzing. This is where we want to go. What are likely barriers? What are likely challenges? What are likely opportunities? And that's one of the things you'll be helping us to see. In the previous strategic plan, have we utilized the context within which things were happening? And that allows us to go to phase 3, where we now look at all that information and do a strategic reflection. This is not useful for our plan. This one is useful. After all the data we have collected, in the reflection, we will see what is important and what is not, which therefore allows us to go to stage 4, which is now preparing the plan itself, the strategic formulation. And then, after you have the plan, you must create within the plan a monitoring system, where every year or every 2 years or every period, you ask yourself, am I going towards the direction I felt God was calling me? If I am not, why not? What can I do to realign back to the strategic plan? Or do I need to totally review from what I'm hearing God say? Do I want to strategically to review the plan? That's what we are calling the monitoring process. But what is strategic planning? It's an element in the process of strategic management and strategic thinking and acting. A strategic manager is a manager who doesn't make individual decisions except in the light of the strategic intent. In other words, there is something long-term you are trying to achieve. What you are doing today must be questioned as to whether it will add to the end. That's as a strategic thinker. You don't jump. Jumping is not good or bad on its own. If jumping will help you to go to a strategic intent, then jump. The higher, the better. But if it's not even helping you, it's using your energy. Don't even try to jump. But how do you answer that question? If you don't have a strategic intent, something you are trying to achieve, then you'll do, the other church is jumping, so we all must, so we can join the denomination of the jumpers. Now, it will be important that you are clear in your mind, what is that vision, long term, that we are trying to achieve? Nothing should happen. Even if you are recruiting people in the team, they are not bad or good on the basis of their beauty. Now, it is, how if they join this team, how will they help us to reach the strategic intent? Are we together? Yeah, don't say, how could you bring a sister that ugly? Now, that's not what we are looking at. We are looking at, can this sister be used to help us to go where God is calling us? Are we together? So that with a strategic intent, all decisions are questioned on the basis, are they helping us to go where God wants us to go? And that's really what we are talking about. And I could go on and talk about strategy generally, but you don't have enough time to do it. But you'll get the note. So when you talk about strategic management, we are talking about that set of decisions and actions which leads to the development of an effective strategy or strategies to help achieve corporate organizational objective. So that is what I'm calling the strategic intent that will be important. It is the process of conceiving and securing the future of the organization or enterprise, which you have already seen. There is a vision you have of that future. The process of strategic management must therefore cause strategic thinking and action in order to secure the future of an organization. In summary, the process of strategic management must lead to the formulation and implementation of strategic plans to achieve the objectives. And I could talk about strategic thinking generally, but let me just talk about the objectives, because you can't really reach that strategic intent until you are able to arrive at your objectives. Objectives are those ends or aims an organization seeks to achieve by existence and its operations. So don't be just excited, we want to have a kingdom city. That's a vision, isn't it? There must be objectives, which when you achieve them, they help you to achieve the vision. So the vision must be broken down to objectives. Are we together? And that will be something that is important. Let me ask the question. Having done one, can't we copy-paste? We just tell them where we had written 2017, we write 2022. And do another 5 years. Why must we sit again and repeat the process? It was so involving. I don't want to get involved. So you must answer the question. Why must we do a strategic review? Why another strategic plan? Number one, sometimes we are dissatisfied with the status quo. In other words, you can see where we are, we have achieved. There's nothing, no motivation anymore. Whatever we wanted, we have achieved. So you start finding people relaxing and no longer excited. Because the work of a strategic intent, it causes people to want to move. Everyone wants to join to get the moving bus. See, after I can see the bus stop came here, isn't it? So nobody wants to enter a stationary matatu. The one trying to move is the one you enter. So once there is a strategic intent and people are involved in it, people want to join the moving bus. So that's why if you have gotten to the level in your planning and implementation where things are very stable and you feel like everyone has achieved, you start people dropping off because there's nothing that is exciting them. And number two, we can reach a level where we are pulling in different directions. We need to do a review so that we can establish harmony. Or sometimes we are actually achieving our purpose, but at a very expensive cost. Is there another way of doing the same things that will lower our costs? That's why we can review. Or sometimes we do it to increase efficiency and effectiveness. In other words, we are actually achieving, we are effective, but you're not efficient. Because effective means you achieve what you said to do. Efficient means you do it at optimum cost. In other words, it's a way of doing something. We can both, for example, if we want to go to Nairobi, there are many ways of going. But some are very expensive, isn't it? But at the end, all of us will be in Nairobi. So you need to review to see, are there ways you are doing things that are effective but not efficient? And then innovate for growth in service provision. In other words, there's a way you are meeting the service needs of the people you are serving, but you can do it better. Or even sometimes address new demand in the area of operation. For example, we are trying to, given our vision, we are trying to meet the needs of the people of this city and beyond. But then the generation of young people are coming with new ideas that were not in our plan. We need to do a plan to say, how are we going to deal with generation? What is it being called? Z. Is it being called Z or is it X? Whatever the young people are being called, they have given themselves some funny name. Now, whatever that name, we as a church must understand that group. And in our plan, we must say how to meet the needs of that generation Z, or whatever it is, what is called. I'm not good in that area. And we could go on. But sometimes the law changes. And the way we agree to do things, the law doesn't allow us to do something. You need to review to see how can we still achieve our purpose despite the change of law. Or even change in technology, which we have not really used. We have MPCI, but maybe something better has come so that we could use. Who is reading aloud to see that there are new ways of doing things? Of course, earlier, for example, you needed your own radio station. But now there's something called YouTube. Am I right? And you can actually, every meeting can be on YouTube. So that there are people listening and that was not possible 5 years ago. Am I right? So if you don't sit down to review, you will continue the same way, but you are lacking using the new technologies that are coming. And we could go on. Again, I don't think I have enough reason. So let's ask ourselves, previous strategic plan, has it run its course? If the answer is yes, we need to review. Is there a change in the market? Or in our growth, have we reached what we call a growth curve? We are no longer growing anymore. The need to differentiate from others. In other words, we are doing what everybody is doing and we need to change. So, and we could go on and on, but I'm counting, and I've already used 35 minutes, and I was supposed to use not more than 55, so I need to talk about numbers. Having now explained why we need to plan, why we need to review the strategic plan, the next thing I wanted to deal with is not the whole, we don't require 100% of the population to do the review. We need what we call change agents, people that are going to have influence, so that although you are talking about 20% of the people, they will be able to influence the other 80%. Are we together? And it's important that you know the kind of people we deal with. These are people whom God has given the gift of confidence. They are confident builders. When he says something, everybody buys it in. We need those people to join our steering committee, because God has given them kind of a grace that when they say something, everybody does it. And by the way, sometimes they don't have a title. He is not the head of department, but when he talks, in fact, when the head of department talks, they keep saying, and karaoke, what do you think? Now, and karaoke has nothing, but karaoke must, I hope there's no karaoke here. Karaoke must talk. And he has no title, but people seem to want to hear what karaoke is saying. If karaoke doesn't talk and doesn't look excited, that project is dead from the beginning. Am I communicating? So we need people whom we can see they have that grace of becoming confident builders. And also we need people who are multifaceted. That means they are not, me, I'm an accountant. I can't think outside that. That's not a good change agent. You need somebody who can be multifaceted, and that is important. And then we need, that this I don't think it's very good to say it, but it's true, even in church and in politics. So if you pick the wrong person, he may say things. You know, there are people who talk, and not that he is a non-Christian, he certainly has heard from the Lord. But the way he says it, he sends away people further from where you are going. These are people who are not politically astute. There's a way, and I'm not talking about lying. I'm saying there's a way of saying something that helps people to go with you. Am I right? Am I communicating? Yeah, you know the kind of, I'm giving you a job description of the kind of people we want to be in the strategic steering committee. They are also persistent and determined. You know, there are people, you are going to a new thing. They ask one question, say, I had not thought about that. Let's kill this project. Because they are not persistent and they are not determined. So you need people that don't give up at the first. You know, they they are going to a problem. They see a problem. Even God does not want us to go. You have not even talked to God. It's just a problem you have. Now, you need people that don't just say no for an answer. They push. Are we together? And sometimes God wants you to go on, but because there is a barrier, he wants you to go under the barrier. That's why the barrier is there, to see how you can go under it. But sometimes he wants you to go, but he wants you to go over, but sometimes even through the barrier. Now, so you can't just see a barrier. So you need people that are persistent and determined. The other thing is, people in this team need to be quick-witted. There are people where you are discussing an idea, you'll understand it tomorrow, but you're making the decision today. Later, sorry, I did not mean to, I was still thinking, but the decision has already been made. Those kind of people have a lot of use in the kingdom of God, but not in strategic planning. So put them somewhere. You need somebody who is thinking with you as you are talking. Hey, brother, stop. Have you thought about this? No, I'm not comfortable. If you are going to tell me you're not comfortable after we have already dug the foundation, can you see the confusion? So these people that are in the need must be quick-witted. They must be convincing. They must be creative. They must be self-motivating. What's self-motivating? You know, some people are wheelbarrows. And wheelbarrows are very useful. I'm from Nyandarua. I grew up on the farm. So a wheelbarrow, before we had a wheelbarrow, it was difficult. But now, and you know, we grow potatoes. And you have to put it to the road where the people are buying are going to take it. Until we now got a wheelbarrow. With a wheelbarrow, you put a whole gunia and you can move it there without your back aching. But the trouble with the wheelbarrow is that when you leave it there, tomorrow you find it in the same place. And some people, the other title for those people is called wheelbarrow. If in your team you have a wheelbarrow, where you leave him 2 years ago is where you find him. He is not self-motivating. You know, can you imagine if you were able to buy a tractor and then you put the potatoes, and the tractor can move on the farm. You put it on, it takes itself to the road. Am I communicating? Those are the kind of people you need in the steering committee. People who are self-motivated. They know they don't do things to please anybody. They are part of the puzzle. They don't say this is apostles' vision. They say it's our vision because they are themselves in it. They don't talk about, our head of department. She said, no, we said. Okay, it was the mouth of the head, but it was us talking. Now that's people who are self-motivated, and it will be important that we have those kind of people. Now, I have to stop because 40 minutes have gone, and I still want to go. Can you go now to the questionnaire so that we can look at it? So I hope now I've achieved my first thing was for you to understand the process we are following. Just before I allow question time, I'll say the first thing will be for us to take a questionnaire, and in this questionnaire, assist us, because that will be important, you assist us to review what has happened so far. KSF Strategic Plan Midterm Review. And or whatever, I think we have reached the end, so we should talk about. Number one, I would like you to give us feedback on the vision, mission, and core values as a representative of KSF. We're asking questions like, does it fully capture the vision of KSF? Or you feel like those people of 2017, you left out this. Tell us now. Even if you are in that meeting, but I'm not suggesting you are slow thinker, but God has given you new revelation. Feel the freedom to tell us that vision, the way it is casted, is not exactly where we are currently. If not, what should be the adjusted vision? Why do you want us to adjust it? Just so that we hear you? No, that's not a good reason. Tell us, why do you think the vision, the current vision, should be adjusted? Why? I think the question will not take you more than an hour. So I'm asking you to give me 1 hour of your time. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. We just want you to know what you think. Are we together? So there will be nobody this is right and this is wrong. Just tell us what you hear from God as you write down about where KSF is. The second thing is look at our mission statement. Does it capture the mission of KSF? Is it still relevant today? Can the next vision also carry the same mission? Will it help you achieve your vision? In other words, if you did the mission, is it in line with your vision? And that will be something that is important to talk about. If not, what should be the adjusted mission? And why do you want us to adjust it? What is better in your vision than what we currently have? Then there are core values, and I'm going to post you our core values when I'm given the group, so that you go through them. Core values are non-negotiable convictions of KSF. In other words, if you don't agree with it, don't join KSF. Because that's what we are. The core values describe who we are. And we call them non-negotiable. That means you cannot sit down to discuss them. They are made up front. All of us join within them. And they are listed. I think there are 5 or 6. Do you agree with them? So, do they still represent what KSF holds to be the non-negotiables? What evidence for each value shows that KSF opposes or does not oppose the value? In other words, we wrote it, but if you see the way we practice things, it's not in line with the value. Tell us, let's agree. Let's remove it. It's not our value. It's a value we wanted, but we never believed and practiced it. Or, the way we run things, this is the evidence. We actually practice that value. So help us to see the evidence if we practice, or the evidence that we do not practice that value. I don't have enough time, but core values are very, very critical. Normally, you are told not to have more than 6, because every value is a barrier to progress. Because a value means you are willing to fail to progress rather than break your own value. For example, you are a girl, you want to be married by a good man. But your value is purity until the wedding day. See, you already lose a lot of men. Your value stops you from getting married. You can see why value is critical. So when your value is purity, a man will come out, the next one out. All of them are not qualifying on the issue of purity. If purity is your value, so a value can make you remain single for life. So it's important to don't put a value unless you are serious about it. And that's what we're asking you. Help us to see, are we, or is there another value which we believe in, but you have not actually written it down? Please give us. Then that time we agreed on strategic objectives. We said if we achieve these objectives, we shall reach our vision. Again, I will send you the listed objectives, and you can tell us, are they clear, valid, relevant to the fulfillment of KSF vision and mission? Then the next thing will be what we did that time called SWOT analysis. And I'll give you some notes on it. Here, we're asking you to look at help us look at where we are doing our plan, our context, and tell us, are there any opportunities that have been well utilized in the implementation of the plan? Give evidence. In other words, the reason why we have been able to achieve this is actually something that is external. God provided this. This is what happened externally that helps us to achieve. We need to know it so that we do not lose it in the next vision. I'll get in my point. So we need to know what is it. For example, when we were planning, we did not know there will be a bus stop next to us. Unless you remind me, I think we did not know. Now, it came. Has it helped the numbers to be bigger or smaller? What is the coming of the bus stop next to the church? What has it done? Good or bad? List all the bad and list all the good. So that in the next planning, we can make sure we utilize proximity to the bus stop as an external assistance in our reaching our thing. The next question is, are there any opportunities that exist but have not been well utilized? Maybe again the bus stop can be an example. Is there something that's happening? For example, you have a new governor for this city. Am I right? Is there something that because it's a woman leader, certain projects of the church will be better achieved because a woman leader? I'm not suggesting there is. I'm only provoking you in thinking. What are the changes? And the other thing you are saying is, are there external threats, things that are happening around that could actually sabotage our work? What is it you can see the devil is using that could sabotage our work? Let's see about it. We'll pray about it. We'll seek the mind of God to know how we can beat the devil at his game. What are those issues? And we can go on and on. The internal analysis is analyzing KSF itself. We did that time. Please help us. Are there any strengths that have been well used in the implementation of the plan? What is the evidence? There's something about KSF that describes it. And because of it, God uses our internal strength to help us achieve them. What are those strengths that KSF have? And then what are the weaknesses that we need to manage better? And we can go on and on. Then stakeholders. Who are the people who work with us? The government is a stakeholder. A stakeholder is a person who can affect our ministry or can be affected by our ministry. Those are the stakeholders. Who are they? And is there something about them that is helping us or stopping us in reaching? Please share with us. Then the critical assumption. We made an assumption and you can look at it. The final aspect is what we call the Pestel factors. I want to just aid your mind. Think about the political forces, the economic forces, the social, technological, environmental, and legal. That's what we call in Pestel. Each one of them say, this is what has happened in politics. It has affected our ministry in this way. This is what has happened in the ministry. It has assisted, or rather in politics. And then you see economic, all of them. It will help you. And then talk about the last strategic plan. Now we just evaluate it. Do you have access to it? Do you even know what you planned? And Have we implemented or not? And it can go on. What about the monitoring? How has it gone? What about the impact? Do you feel we have actually achieved much in it? And the note on 7 help you to answer the question on strength. To assist you in the issue of strength, we are saying, do you consider your organization team strong? Why? What do you think of the team that leads this church? Are they strong? How? Give us evidence. What do you offer that makes you stand out from the rest of spiritual religious circles? What is it in KSF that is so uniquely? There are many churches in the city, but there's something God has given you, a grace, an anointing that has been given, and we need to know it, so that because of that we ask ourselves, this grace God has given us, how can we use it to achieve more in the next vision? Do you have any specific outreach expertise? What is it? We are looking at your strength, and you can also look at weaknesses. List all the things that can be improved in the KSF. Is there an area we are doing well, but could do better? So then we are not at our best on it. Then do the same for threats and opportunities. That helps you to, and my 50 minutes are gone, but I hope in the process you see what you are going to be doing. My suggestion is we give you about 5 days. Today is what date? Wednesday, isn't it? 5 days brings us to Monday. Am I right? Yes or no? Can we say Monday, you email back to me directly? So I think there must be, I'll write my email in the book. We'll send it and then you email it back. My job with my assistants will be to put the ideas together so that when you call the steering committee, we will not read all forms. We'll just extract. Because many people will say the same thing. So we'll put it together before our next meeting. Now it's time for questions. So that you, at least you don't say, I have the assignment, but I didn't understand what it's all about. Did I communicate? Okay. There's talking and communicating. The two are not the same. I know I talked. Only you can convince me whether I communicated. My aim was give you a justification for planning, why a spiritual church can spend time planning. Number 2, I wanted to talk about you helping us with a review of the past. And then thirdly, I wanted us to agree timelines. Okay. Question, comment? Patrick is taking notes. He's ready with his, he's high tech. He doesn't write with a pen. He writes onto his computer, I saw. So he'll write it down if you whatever you say. Okay. Is the idea of reviewing the last one and planning the next one, is it your idea or my idea? Whose idea is it? Answer me. Have you bought the idea? Yes or no? Okay, so it's your idea then. Okay. Then, if it's clear, they will stop. But I think I would be happier if somebody commented on what we said. You either question or comment. Then I know there is, at least I communicated.
Yeah, maybe I can make a comment. I know our team for me in the church, we have done a SWOT analysis. How many departments have done a SWOT analysis? The recent one. I know quite a number of departments have done the SWOT analysis. So what we need is just to come together again, take the notes. I know in the SWOT analysis there was the guidance that we were given, but maybe there are things we can also be able to improve in the SWOT analysis. Is that okay, Patrick? We do any improvement in that SWOT analysis, and then now we are going to submit that SWOT analysis, and that is what is going to take us to the next level. Now, there are our branches who are here. They have not even done the SWOT analysis. So I think you're going to begin now from there and start doing a SWOT analysis. And I know you are not also reviewing the last strategic plan. Mlikuwa naye kweli? Wangapi mlikuwa na strategic plan ya 5 years, 2 years, 3 years? Pastor Mburu, ulikuwa na miaka ngapi? Imeisha na ndio inaendelea? Ndio inaendelea 5 years. Ulikuwa umefanya SWOT? SWOT analysis umefanya? Bado? Sawa. So I think all our branches is good